everyone. I hope you're all well wherever you are, and thanks for tuning in. So I wanted to talk about today false light, distortions, and psychic attacks, entity attachments, etc. So I think most of you watching this will have a level of understanding or may have experienced this already and had some visitations or experiences with entity or psychic attack, and so you'll be familiar with the feeling and what comes with that. And the reason I want to talk about it is because I think there's a lot of kind of misunderstanding around in the spiritual communities, and there's also a lot of false positivity and bypassing, which I think can not help matters, basically, because when people are kind of ignoring the shadow, and that's our own internal shadow and the shadow, the collective shadow. When people are ignoring this with the love and light and focusing on the positive and all of this kind of stuff, what they're actually doing is suppressing the darkness that's within, because it doesn't matter how positive you are or how good you feel. We all have dark and light within us. We live in a polarity universe. And so we all have this, positive, negative, dark, light. We live in a polarity universe. So of course we have. Sorry, I've got my little kittens. Want to say hello. Hello. And here's a little twin. Oh, they're so cute. Twins. Yeah, so we're living in this polarity universe, and so we have this, and a lot of people, when they're focusing on the positive, they're actually suppressing. And while we need to get a handle on our thoughts and basically, get more of a control on the ego rather than the ego controlling us, we can't do this. Sorry, I'm having maybe a cat hair. We can't do this by ignoring the darkness and, like I said, just focusing on the positive, because it doesn't work like this. And what happens is, a lot of the time when we're feeling these entity attachments, they can feel like they're external and they're coming from an external source. And of course we know there's external sources. There's a lot of space junk out there, a lot of unseen forces in the ether that do hover around waiting to hop into somebody's field and suck their energy. But most of the time, I believe, and again, take what you want from this little video today, because obviously it will resonate with some people and it won't resonate with other people, and we've all got our own perceptions and we've all got our own beliefs, and my perceptions and beliefs are based on my own experiences, and of course my experiences with all of the clients that I've had. So I've been doing energy work for 12 years, 14 years now, both on my own work and of course helping clients. And so I'm talking from experience, what I observe and witness, and then of course what I personally experience through my own traumas and pains and my own shadow. But yeah, most of these entities, these attacks that we can feel, are internal. There are really deeply ingrained unconscious parts, the wounded parts of us, that we haven't processed or resolved or addressed or whatever, this stuff that we have suppressed. And so that's the first thing I do when I work with a client. I look at what's going on with them internally, and I look for any unprocessed or unresolved or unconscious wounds, you know, traumas and things. First of all, because the external entities that are kind of hovering around waiting to hop into somebody's field, they attach to people's shadow. This is how they attach to us, right? They attach to our shadow. They attach to any leaks that we've got in our fields as a result of the distortions that we're running in our own templates, our auric template, our energy body templates. All of this, they basically enter through these tears and distortions. They find the weak points, and that's how they enter. So in regards of the external distortions, I feel that they're a little bit easier to clear because they're uninvited bodies, they're uninvited energies, and we can clear these really easy by just asking them to leave our field or commanding that they leave our field. You know, we're all free will beings, and so we can on some level, consciously or unconsciously, allow these beings, these entities, to attach to us, or it might be part of a agreement that we've made, and it's all part of our learning and something that the soul may want to experience, or something the human may want to experience in order to learn, to grow from it, whatever it is. And so we can clear these external sources quite easily, depending on obviously the level of the entity. There are very powerful distortions out there. There are very powerful entities that come in the way of implants, and that can be coming from alien implants, AI, artificial intelligence implants, implants from the beliefs and the systems that we are kind of under by way of education, religion, economic, social. There's all of these implants that we can receive. There's many different levels of implants, from subtle mind control, from watching TV, listening to news programs, just reading headlines, flashing headlines here and there. These are all designed to implant into our subconscious, because this is how they work. They're imprinted into our subconscious, and our subconscious mind is, you could call this the shadow. It basically contains the shadow parts of us. It contains the good and it contains the bad. But of course, people don't focus on the good, because when the good things make people happy, and it's not what people are looking for. People are looking for, they're searching for their issues, their blocks, their wounds, because they feel bad, and they know that they need to address and heal and release certain things. So depending on the level of the implant or the attachment, it can be a soul attachment, something that we have created with another soul, often a loved one or somebody close to us, whether it's a relationship, intimate relationship, or it can be a friend, it's a parent, grandparent, sibling, relative. Somebody, generally, soul attachments are generally people that we've been close to and that we've experienced some intensity with, or some trauma with, or a series or a sequence of painful experiences. And so we can experience these attachments which create distortion in our field, because we're holding not only the wound from our own experience of this person, but aspects of their wound, of what they experienced, their kind of traumas, and it's quite an expansive field, because, as I say, it's not just our own stuff that we're holding. We can be carrying aspects of their stuff as well. And then we've got the implants by way of imprints, that the things that we've inherited from our parents, their traumas, even at birth, in the womb, when we were in the womb. In our early years, we are we're like little sponges, so we absorb everything. We're very open, and we tend to absorb so much, and so we can absorb these wounds from our parents. Again, they can be energetic imprints and implants. They can be subconscious by way of beliefs and behaviors, learned behaviors, etc., etc. So there's a lot, right? It's not just black and white and an entity is this or a psychic attack is that. There's a lot of many reasons. And then, of course, the external sources, we've got all these different seals, as I said, coming back to the alien implants, the artificial intelligence implants. I know some people might find that a little bit hard to believe, but yeah, it's a thing. It goes on. The story is that we are implanted at birth. Again, I'm not going to go too much into all of this here because obviously it's YouTube, social media, and just to keep it clean and not create any censorship words that flag up in the algorithms. But yeah, there's many causes of implants and feeling like we're having psychic attack. Because generally, again, the psychic attacks can be coming from within. It's something within us. It's an internal energy, a darkness, a shadow. And, this energy has to express itself somehow. The body can only hold so much before it needs to express. And it can express itself by way of anxiety or depression, or it can actually have this energy release. And, we can see, I've had previously, when I've had these experiences where I've actually seen this dark energy leave my body, especially when I've been doing clearing work, and I've just seen like balls of dark energy, like smoke, foggy, gooey substances leave my body. And I've also seen these kind of energies externally that are coming, trying to enter my body, and these are the external attacks, the psychic attacks that we can receive. And of course they attach to our fears, our traumas, and our shadow. So a lot of people say that they attach to anger and other low frequency. I don't really feel that they do, unless you're in this constant state, if you're just in generally in this angry frequency on a constant basis. But that will be rooted in some trauma. So again, it's that they're attaching to fear and trauma. And also some of these implants can also create thought projections, thought viruses, and thought broadcasts. So some of the implants, the external implants that we're receiving by way of the religious and education and social and economic and the mind control, there's a lot of there's a lot of subconscious manipulation out there, and so we can actually feel that we're having these really powerful external attacks. And I have lost the train of my thought. So yeah, the thought projections and thought viruses, thought broadcasts. Some of these implants are designed to manipulate our thoughts, to keep us thinking low frequency thoughts, negative thoughts, self-doubt, and to be disempowered. And of course, some of these thought viruses and thought projections are also coming externally from our families, from our parents, from our ancestral lineages. Again, if our parents are dealing with traumas, they will be expressing themselves in specific ways that that will influence us. So again, it's learned behaviour. So we're learning as children, we're learning behaviours from our parents based on the traumas that they're running. So again, we've got all of this, and our thoughts can be manipulated by the thoughts of our loved ones and our families, our teachers even, and also, it's not necessarily what our parents have experienced. It could be what they've inherited from their parents and grandparents, and etc. and etc. And so on and on and on it goes down through the ancestral line. So yeah, there's a lot. And then, as I said, coming back to the external thought projections and thought broadcasts, you know, this comes through mainstream media, through the news, through TV programs. You know, most people are aware of this. And then, on top of all of that, we've got the false light narrative, the dark light narrative. So this is a little bit more complex, and this is going on another level. So that what I've just talked about previously is the kind of practical, more grounded stuff, things that most people believe and understand, or innerstand, and can kind of grasp the concept of. But yeah, the false light issues, where we can experience entity distortions internally, is because we've allowed, you know, we've invoked particular beings or frequencies into our fields, into our bodies, because we're maybe praying or calling in or invoking specific archangels or ascended masters or gods or whatever it is. And so I'm not going to go into too much detail here because it would be too long, and I want to try to keep it as short as possible. But I do trainings on this, so you can reach out, and I do one-to-ones and I do group training, so you can always reach out and we can have a private session. But the false light community, the spiritual community, is really easy to manipulate because they are more open, and people get into this line of work because they want to feel better. You know, the agenda behind all of us stepping onto our spiritual path, even though it's something that's always been within us, but we've not actually been on the path. You know, we've kind of stepped into it. Usually people step onto a spiritual path. They're either born into it with spiritual parents, which is amazing if they are. People are so lucky when they've got spiritual parents, or we find our way to it as a result of the wounds and the pains and the traumas that we've experienced, and we want to heal. So we don't want to speak to doctors and psychotherapists. We seek alternative ways of healing because we understand energy. You know, even if we're not fully aware of how energy mechanics works or quantum mechanic works, we're aware of, you know, the energy in our body, and that there are things that we can do energy-wise to heal ourselves. And so we find different platforms like yoga or meditation or Reiki or angelic healing, Sakhem healing, quantum healing. There's multiple methods out there. And what a lot of these methods are doing is, are they actually not just another distraction to create, or should I say, direct people to search for something outside of themselves? And they do this by way of, and I've done it myself, I've been down this path, and this is why I'm doing this video now, and because the last few years I've become more aware of false light and interference between, you know, from these false light beings. And these false light beings are very clever at masquerading as, you know, angelic beings and ascended masters, and making us feel all gooey and warm and loving, and their agenda is, you know, to harness and siphon our energy. They're finite beings, and so their agenda is as finite beings, which means they've only got a certain amount of quantum. They're not plugged into God source consciousness, and I'm not talking about God, the man in the sky. I'm talking about God source consciousness. So you know, some people might call this creator consciousness, universal consciousness, but I'm talking, you know, the God source consciousness, where God, the man in the sky programming comes from. But yeah, God source consciousness, these beings chose a different path for whatever. Again, I'm not going to go into too much into this because, again, it would be too much information. But they chose a path, a finite path, to drive an agenda. And I'm talking millions of years ago. This is not something that's just happened. But and because of this, They disconnected themselves from God source consciousness, and they became finite. You know, it's a collective. It's not just, like I said, a being. It's a collective. It's a family collective energy. It's a consciousness, but it's a finite consciousness. And this finite consciousness eventually will burn itself out, because there's no energy coming in, there's no energy going out, it's not feeding back to itself, it's literally just going around and around and around and around and around, until eventually, like I said, it will burn itself out. So they need to, this energy needs to draw on other sources of energy. And so this is where this false, like, you know, just to give a little brief overview on it. And so, yeah, they need other energies to siphon to keep the quantum flowing within its own finite system. And so they masquerade, you know, these beings, of course, the beings within the collective, the energy, can masquerade as false light. And so are some of these New Age methods, is the origin of some of these New Age methods from a finite system? Because for me, any being or any method that are teaching you to seek outside of yourself, for me is, I question it. You know, praying to gods and praying to archangels and invoking archangels, and people who are channeling, they're opening themselves up to be a channel, to allow another being to channel through them. How do they know what they're inviting in? And they might feel like they're inviting something of the light in, but it's dark light. Is it pure light? Is it organic living light? Or is it dark finite light? This is the thing. This is what's in question. And this energy is very clever, as I say, at manipulating and, you know, masquerading as fluffy, lovey, warm energy, but the purpose is just to siphon. And then these people are teaching other people this method, which continues the siphoning process. So it just draws more people into the finite system. So again, I'm not saying this is the case for all, but a lot of people, especially people who are new, or, you know, their channels are distorted through their own traumas or through the things that they're putting in their body, like too much caffeine, alcohol, medication, smoking marijuana, and, you know, anything where they're altering, you know, the chemistry within their body. You know, they can create distortions within their own channels. And so they're higher channels, because we have access to all of these higher frequencies, to all this consciousness, to all this information. It's already within our own quantum. But if our channels are blocked and we can't access this higher information, which comes from our higher self, from higher aspects of ourselves that are experiencing multiple lifetimes in higher dimensions, in higher frequencies, we can't discern the information that we're receiving. Is this information coming from my ego, which, you know, we know our ego can manipulate us, because our ego is designed to keep us safe. It's there to keep us safe, to protect us. Is this information coming from my ego because it wants to keep me safe? It's telling me not to expand because it's scary. Or is this information coming from my, you know, my higher self telling me I shouldn't be together with this person because, or my higher self tells me I shouldn't go to Bali, I should stay here, or I should go here, or, you know, this kind of thing. Or is it you know, a being that's telling us what we should be doing and where we should be going? And so the point is, we can't discern where this voice is coming from. Is it our higher self communicating with us? Is it our ego voice just trying to protect us and look after us, which limits us? Or is it another voice that's manipulating us, that's driving an agenda? You know, how can we discern? I feel that I can discern because I've been doing this work for a long time, and work hard to keep my channels open. I really do feel that I can, but who knows? Maybe even I've been corrupted, distorted, how do we know? But it's a feeling, okay? So most of us can tap into our feeling body, and we know when we're running dark energy. We can feel when there's just something not right. But again, if our frequency is low through trauma, through fear, we're living in survival, in a constant state of survival. We've got a dysregulated nervous system. We're constantly in fear and chasing money, because money keeps us safe, because it keeps paying bills to keep a roof over our head, for example, and keep us buying food. Where is it coming from? What is the energy that's coming through? Is it fear? Is it the survival? Is it rooted in our own trauma? Or is it just manipulation that we've experienced from outside? It's really difficult sometimes to actually discern all of it. And so my point is, what I teach people is everything that they do is to do it from within, from their heart consciousness. Our higher heart, our core essence is our higher self intuition. And if we can start to get into a habit of doing everything from our heart, opening our heart, even if we're in a trauma and we want to keep our heart protected, we can open our heart to ourselves. We don't need to open it to if you're in a trauma space and you need to protect yourself, I'm not guiding you in any way or telling anybody to open their heart to other people and allow people in. No, you're opening your heart to yourself so that you can better intuit and better discern your own inner guidance, and tune into your own inner compass. And if you work on healing and clearing your own distortions within your own channels, this is what I teach people to do, how to heal their own distortions, how to identify their own distortions and issues, and then how to work on clearing them so they can keep themselves in a more harmonic frequency that's more in alignment with earth, with nature, and not with all of the false, artificial, synthetic energies that we're fed on a constant basis through by way of electromagnetic frequencies from EMFs and all of the geopathic stresses that we receive, and all the chemicals that are being sprayed in the air and on our food and things like this. These all serve to create distortions and blocks, and to lower our frequency, and to cause dis-ease in our body, so that we are vibrating on a low frequency, or we are feeling low. A lot of our emotions, our emotions are not just coming from our traumas, our pains and our wounds. They are all influenced as well by the stuff that we're putting in our body. If somebody's consuming something that their body doesn't like, whether it's an apple, a biscuit, a coffee, a herbal tea, it can be anything. People can build up intolerances to anything, and that includes something that we perceive as healthy. But if we're consuming something that's not right for our body, again, whether it's meat, a vegetable, a salad, then it's going to influence our physical body on some level, and it's going to stress specific hormones, specific glands, specific organs, and put stress, place stress on our physical body, and create this dis-ease. So we can be feeling these emotions from the toxins that we're holding in the body as well. So again, it's not all that everything comes from. So when I'm working with a client on a one-to-one basis particularly, then I kind of go into all of that. What are they doing to actually bring themselves into harmony and balance? What is their diet? Are they drinking enough water? Because again, lack of hydration from water can cause so many issues in the body. I wrote a little article about this a few days ago on social media, on Facebook. So if you follow me on Facebook, you'll find that. It's just maybe 3 days ago. But yeah, there's just so many influences internally, coming from ourselves. And again, the entities and the psychic attacks and the distortions, the attachments that we experience, again, soul attachments from loved ones, attachment mechanisms that we've created with loved ones, with family members, and holding parts of their energy. And then of course there's the soul loss and soul fragmentation that we experience when we do experience any deep level, any deep pains and wounds or traumas. Part of our soul can fragment. The part of our soul that's wounded can fragment, and we can lose that part of ourselves, and that is so that we don't have to relive this particular trauma or wound or experience over and over again. But then when part of our soul has fragmented, how can we fully heal ourselves? It doesn't matter. We can do as much healing as we want. We can do yoga daily. We can meditate daily. We can do energy healing daily. But still, something's not right. We're not feeling right. We're not fulfilled. Why? Because if part of our soul has fragmented, then our blueprint, there's parts of our blueprint is missing, and so we can't. We're missing a part of that blueprint, so we need to call these missing, fragmented parts of our soul back, so we can actually heal the blueprint, the whole of us, the whole of our body matrices, all parts of the energy body systems, and the template, the soul body, the blueprint, the soul blueprint. It's not just about healing our DNA template blueprint, our physical blueprint. We have to heal the soul blueprint as well. So yeah, we're looking at kind of all of this, and when we can heal ourselves as a whole, we find that the entity, the external, the entity attachments are not bothering us. We're not being bothered so much by them, because our frequency is more harmonic. It's balanced, and so that we can dissipate or reflect these entities. But if we're going to keep calling in and invoking external beings and not being able to fully understand who we're working with, what external being we're calling in, what is the source of this being? Is it coming from organic living light, or is it a finite synthetic system? The fourth dimension, the astral plane, is corrupted. This is where all of these entities and beings, and they are all in the ether, in the astral, and so we can also experience all of this in our sleep. When we're asleep, and our soul leaves, or our energy leaves our physical body, and it goes to the astral plane to replenish itself. And again, we can experience these corruptions when we're in our sleep. This is why people experience the sleep paralysis. They can feel that they're being attacked in their sleep, and it's an astral interference. And it's not nice, because because we're in this sleep process, and part of us has left, we can't wake up and fight this being, because our soul, our energy's left the body. So this is why they call it sleep paralysis. There's also a scientific explanation for this as well, but the scientific explanation is very similar to the spiritual explanation. So yeah, what are you calling in? Are you calling in? So again, coming back to what I was saying in the beginning, I teach people, I guide people, and this is why I wanted to do this video, because I want people to know that you have everything already within you. You are God Source Consciousness. God Source Consciousness is you. Your template is made up of the same minerals and compounds as the earth and as the universe. you are, I can see the kittens in the background, they're so sweet. Yeah, we are made up of all of the same minerals and energies and frequencies and, you know, the geometry. You know, we are running mathematical sequencing, and it's the same mathematical sequencing that's within the universal grids, the universal templates, the planetary templates. We're running all of this the same frequencies, the same energies, the same mathematical currents. However, the finite system it works on reverse mathematics. Again, I'm not going to go too much into it. I'm still studying all of this myself. It's a minefield of information, but it's running on reverse sequencing mathematics, and so they're reversing all of these currents within our body, and this is what causes the distortion, and this is why these false light beings are allowed to, or how they can draw on our energy. But of course, by free will, we can take back our power, we can take back our energy, we can reverse the reversals. So if we work on clearing all of these distortions within our fields, within our templates, then we can clear all of these distortions. It's not something to be scared of, because we can clear it. We can take back our power, we can take back our sovereignty. We just need to understand all of it so that we can actually do this and take back our sovereignty. And I'm not talking about necessarily, you know, the 3D earthly sovereignty. I'm just in general, the kind of universal laws, because these have also been corrupted by these false light collectives. But yeah, coming back to, again, everything, all of this is in you. So it's just about connecting to the heart consciousness, and everything that you do, doing it from the heart, you know, going up and connecting with your higher self. You know, we have multiple higher selves, hundreds of higher selves that have all experienced past life, present life, future lives, parallel lives, living, we're interdimensional. Our higher selves are experiencing higher dimensional parallel lifetimes, and so our higher self has no other agenda than to guide us safely through life and help us to grow, to learn, to expand. You know, this is the sole purpose, is to experience and to express itself, and it does that through its human. And the human purpose, we can have different, and our human purpose can change all the time. And you know, if originally I wanted to be a healer, you know, and this is what I set out for when I started doing this work 15 years ago, to be a healer. I wanted to help to heal people. And now I've moved beyond that, and I've come to the realization a few years ago that, you know, the world doesn't need more healers. It needs more teachers and leaders to teach people how to heal themselves, because if sustainable healing from my perspective comes from doing this work ourselves. And again, coming back to when I started my healing journey years ago, I was going to healers and I was, you know, having Reiki healings and different sessions to help me, and it helps, and you feel okay for a time, but again, these energies are just treating the symptoms, they're not treating the root. So the root is when we get really down and dirty and go into the shadow, and it's not a nice place to go sometimes. You know, some of us have experienced real deep traumas, and so people are not ready to, you know, to dig deep into into these pains. But it is only when we can sit with the pains, and we don't have to relive the trauma, the experience, but what we do need to do is address the emotions that we haven't processed, because all of the stuff that we haven't processed, all of the emotions that we haven't processed as a result of these experiences is what's trapped in our body. This is what the trauma is. So in order for us to release this trauma, we need to tap into what the actual emotion is that we are feeling as a result of our experiences. Is it anger? Is it rage? Is it frustration, you know? Is it a physical pain? Is it mental pain, emotional pain? There's so much. And it's only when we can really get deep down into the root and the core and really address the actual core that we can then treat that, and that will then treat all the symptomatic issues. So again, I did this myself for a few years. I was just going and having energy healing, and like I said, it always made me feel better for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, if I was lucky even 6 weeks. And then the stuff would come again, and then I would have to go and have another session, and then another session, and then another session, until my higher self, my own intuition told me, Mia, you need to do this yourself. This is work needs to come from you. So that's when I started going on all these training courses to learn how I could do this, to understand. I mean, the training courses were all practitioner training courses, but it helped me to kind of understand and to learn more about different methods and different aspects and different frequencies, until eventually in 2015 I basically created my own signature program, and I took myself through a process of inner healing, and now I don't have sessions with other people. I do all my own work, and I do feel a lot better for it, because one, I'm not picking up any interference from anybody else. You know, how do I know that they're doing their work? Because I do, again, I witness, I see many healers out there who are not actually walking their talk. They're just healing people. They believe that when they're healing somebody that they're receiving a healing, because this is what we taught in Reiki. When you're doing a Reiki on somebody, the energy's coming through you, so you're going to get the healing as well. So therefore, you don't, you know, people think they don't need to do any healing, because if they're giving a Reiki session every day, that they're getting a healing, so they don't actually need to do any of their own healing and tapping into their own energy and etc, etc. I'm sure that you understand what I'm trying to say, or you know, innerstand what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I just do my own work, and then I know, you know, if I'm having any interference from any external sources, that it's coming from, there is an external source coming from outside. Where is it coming from? Is it attached to any, I forgot, is there any trauma? Is there anything inside of me that it's attaching to? Or is it, you know, is it an alien agenda? Is it an AI implant, an artificial intelligence implant? I've cleared a lot of this stuff. And I continuously do work every day to make sure that my systems are clear, so that I can show up and be a clear channel for people and to teach them. And I work with my own energy, I work with my higher self, and I work with organic living light that is coming from God source consciousness. So I don't call in any external beings. I stopped all of that in 2017. I stopped, you know, calling in Reiki spirit guides and different ascended masters, and only working with my higher self, and as I say, with God source consciousness, organic living light, you know, working with the Christic light. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there. I hope this little video has helped, and it reaches the people that it needs to reach. Again, we don't need to be scared of any of this. We just need to be aware. You know, I have come across somebody on Facebook last week who said, you know, is this not, you know, putting another way of putting fear into people? But I don't think it is. No, I believe that when people have the knowledge and they understand all of this information, they're better informed to go out and make sure that they're calling in. You know, if you want to call in any high beings, make sure that you're calling in organic living light. And because, like I said, if you're calling in, there's, again, these archangels, it's not, again, a man in the sky. You know, Archangel Michael is not a man in the sky. Archangel Gabriel is not a man in the sky. Archangel Metatron is not a man in the sky. It's a family collective. So part of that collective can be finite, can have been corrupted. And the other part of that collective can be a living light, can be a pure light being who wants to help humanity and wants to help you and me and us. But how do you know unless you're actually calling in and being really specific of what you're calling in? How do you know what you're calling in? Because if you are running corrupt frequency energy yourself, then you could be calling in that dark light and not the organic light. So this is why I wanted to bring this information to you today, so that you can make sure that you are calling in the organic living light, the true living light. And again, whether you want to call it God source consciousness or creator consciousness, there is only one creator energy. Everything else comes, all these finite beings, they all come from the creator energy. They were all pure living God source, eternal living light beings and frequencies at one time. But somewhere along the way, through the millennia, they were corrupted for specific, and this is all to do with the Stargate Wars. Again, I'm not even going to go into all of this because that would be another video for another day. There's loads of information you can find out on YouTube. If you search Stargate Wars, for example, you will find so much information out there. But this has been going on for millennia. It's not something that's new. But obviously with all of what we've been up against, particularly the last 2 or 3 years, I think a lot of people are waking up to this now, and they're waking up to the corruption from the energy and the external corruptions, the internal corruptions, which is coming from our own shadow. You know, these unseen forces, these entity attachments, they're attaching to our shadow. So if we can heal and work on our shadow, they have nothing to attach to. So they can attempt to enter our field, but they'll quickly leave because there's nothing for them to draw on. There's no trauma, there's no fear. You know, we're living in a balanced harmonic frequency, and I've got to the point now over the last 1.5 years that when I haven't had a visitation for about 6 months, a year now. I don't remember the last one, but yeah, I've got myself to the point now where I'm not afraid of them, and I just meet them with the same energy and I just tell them to leave. You know, you do not have permission to be here, leave now. Because again, they, under the law of free will, they cannot enter I know some of these beings are very dark and they don't care about free will, but even that, it's our field, it's our energy, it's our body. We can control who and what we allow into our space. And if we've got healthy physical boundaries and spiritual boundaries, and we've got strong spiritual ethics, and strong mental and emotional ethics, our boundaries are strong, we know what we want, then what I found is that there can be very little manipulation. And yeah, we can feel low on energy because of course there's, you know, when we're healing our pains, you know, we're healing layers and levels of consciousness of a particular pain. So we can still feel, you know, there's still going to be part of us that might feel a little bit down on a particular day, but we can ask where this is coming from, and you know, and know that it's coming from within us, and take responsibility and not just blame an external source. It's like, oh, it's an entity I'm being attacked by. Because like, coming back to what I said at the beginning, a lot of the psychic attacks are coming from our inner demons, and it's all our shadow stuff presenting itself, coming to the surface to be presented so we can clear it. Like I said, I've seen these things leaving my body when I've been doing healing and clearing work. I have seen the external stuff, but I've seen the stuff that's coming out of me. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. If anybody wants any guidance, I run training courses to teach all of this. Akashic record, different levels. So the the practitioner training, then we're working on our own stuff, identifying and healing our own distortions, the old traumas and the soul attachments, etc., etc. And the advanced training that I'm just putting together now for the practitioners is where we're going into all the implants and the alien implants and the artificial intelligence and all of the seals and the planetary grid implants that are interfering with our templates. And then, yeah, one-to-ones, I do one-to-ones. So if you're called to have any guidance with me and you're interested in working with me, you can hop onto my website. The link I'll put in the comments below. It's just my name, miarenna.com. And then you can have a look at the different Akashic readings I do and the trainings, or just send me a message and we can communicate and we can have a chat and I can see how I can help you and how to direct you. Because yeah, some people are not really sure where they need to be going, and you know, people do need help. I needed help in the beginning. I was in such a deep trauma space. I've experienced many traumas in my early childhood, the first kind of quarter of my life, and I got to the point where I couldn't see the forest for the trees or the trees for the forest. I was just in such a deep space. I needed help and guidance. So I appreciate that people need structure and they do need help and guidance, but ultimately I offer this, but then I also teach you how to do it as well, so that you can go through your own processes and keep doing this work to maintain your harmonic resonance, so that you can help yourself to stay in a harmonic resonance and not, you know, most people come for healing or search for external sources of healing when they reach bottom. And it doesn't need to be like this. You know, the Ayurvedic and yogic principles I'm a yoga teacher. I've studied Ayurveda and yoga, and you know, these principles are based on prevention rather than cure. So if we can keep ourselves in harmonic resonance, then we don't need to have, you know, deep level healing sessions. But ultimately people need, because a lot of stuff's coming up for people now, you know, again, what's happened over the last 2 years has brought a lot of old trauma wounds and fears, and not necessarily even people's own perpetual traumas, but what they've inherited from their parents and their grandparents, or from the collective, from, you know, intergenerational, transgenerational, all of the stuff that we've inherited collectively through wars and genocides and famines, and you know, this is all playing out in the collective at the moment, and it's been raised in our template, because this is just memory and energy that's within our own cellular body, cellular system, and even in the, you know, in the DNA. So by doing our own work, we can help to clear our own stuff, and we're helping to clear the, you know, the ancestral, our bloodline lineages, and of course on a collective level. And so this is why I feel that if people learn to do this kind of work for themselves, it's got to be more sustainable, and these people can then go on to teach other people and teach other people and teach other people. So rather than people going and having a healing and just lying down and expecting to be healed by other people, no, take responsibility and do your own healing. And sure, go and lie down and have a healing we all just like to be pampered from time to time, but if you're doing your real deep shadow work, and you're having, you know, really nice energy healing sessions from people, then perfect. But just make sure that the person that you're having the healing from is working with organic light, with living light, and just discern, you know, just use your discernment. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. As I say, reach out if you would like to chat with me about anything. Please leave me a like, drop me a like if you found this helpful. feel free to leave a comment. Again, comments, please keep them constructive rather than negative, because quite often people can, you know, anybody that doesn't resonate with this can, you know, this, putting these kind of videos out, we kind of leave ourselves open to, you know, people kind of attacking because they, you know, they don't resonate with it, or they're in some kind of denial or resistance. So yeah, please keep your comments constructive, but I'm open to anybody's, to having a conversation with anybody, as long as it's respectful. You know, I'm open to always learning. I'm forever a student. I love learning and I love listening to other people's perspectives. We've all got our own beliefs, our own perspectives, and it's really important to take from this what resonates with you. If anything resonates with you, you know, I don't know everything. I just know from, again, my own experiences. Any teachings that I do, I always ask, you know, I tune in with myself and I ask, is this of, you know, organic living light, to know the source. And when I'm working with any people, I always tune in first to ask, you know, is this right for me to work with this XYZ person? Is this person of living light, of organic, true source living light? And that's how I discern who I want to work with and who I don't want to work with. So yeah, I recommend that you all do the same. So yeah, have a beautiful day, and yeah, thank you for watching. And as I say, give me a like. It helps helps boost my my feed. And yeah, have a great day, and I'll see you all soon.